What? Welcome back to the Campaign Roundtable Heart of the Swarm Part 3. I'm Garrett Weinzierl.
I'm Mike Doherty.
And I'm Kyle Ferguson.
And this is the cast where we dive into the depths that is the story of video games. Welcome back to another week of our talk and chatter about the Heart of the Swarm campaign. How you guys doing this week, though? Let's kick it off. Keep it casual, man. How's everyone doing? Mike, man. Kyle, I ask how you're doing 3 times a week, so you get to go second.
I'm doing just fine, actually. Spent the last week helping out family, but that's boring. So I'll just talk about I've been playing Tomb Raider, which is awesome. I take back everything I've ever said about that entire series. Maybe not the entire series, just the game.
I was about to say one good game does not make the older titles in the long line of history any better.
No, but it certainly vindicates them.
True.
Not making them anything I ever want to go back and play, but certainly makes me like the series for once.
I mean,
which is amazing.
I respect the original Tomb Raider. I mean, when it came out, it was blazing a new trail. It was interesting. It wasn't for me. I didn't particularly care for it, but I understood why people were into it. I still think she controlled like a tank.
She did control like a tank. She controlled like a tank on a trampoline, and you were supposed to shoot things. And her competition was Mario. So you could choose between Mario 64 or Tomb Raider. Which one of those do you think held up?
Yeah, considering I still enjoy playing Mario 64. Well,
Yeah.
I guess we know who won that battle. But, yeah, man, I want to play that. And apparently BioShock Infinite is just the best thing since Jesus.
That's what I'm hearing.
What I'm hearing. Every single review I have heard, read, or rant. The hobo that lives down the street was like, "Hey, you played that BioShock Infinite yet?"
No,
I
I have to
actually
work,
started
sir.
playing that a bit, but I made a point to finish Tomb Raider first because I wound up enjoying that a bit more. Go figure.
Oh, all right.
Really, the best review I've heard of BioShock Infinite states it thusly. It is required reading for a video gamer, and you will find it a nice culmination of all the technologies that have gone into video games in the past. Don't go in expecting to be wowed by anything new. Expect to see a Oscar-winning performance in a video game that you understand.
I will say it is by far the most impressive thing I've seen the Unreal Engine do, by far.
Cool. Very, very cool. Did you have the same reaction as we did when we first loaded up Halo 4 and we're just like, did they steal my Xbox when I slept and replace it with a new one?
No, but that was kind of like, oh my god, it's like watching Crysis run on an Xbox, which you wouldn't think would be possible.
Yeah.
This is more like, oh my god, it's an Unreal game in Technicolor, not in like brown. That's what still gets me is like this game is like super Wizard of Oz colorful, and it's awesome for it.
That's great, man. I've really, I will probably be picking that up this weekend. I've been so crazy, stupid busy, but that is on my list. Anyways, we didn't come here to talk Tomb Raider, BioShock, Halo, weather. We came here to talk Heart of the Swarm, damn it. We didn't talk weather. That's kind of a meta joke because I always ask people how the weather's doing on StarCast. But anyways, last week we covered Xeris. We discussed Kerrigan becoming one with the Carapace once again, and even for a second time deciding to have Carapace high heels. I guess she just likes the look,
Sure.
or a more likely explanation, there's a dude who's designing things at Blizzard.
Well, she already learned to run in them.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I don't think I ever really noticed her feet when she was back to human form. She might have just walked around on her tippy toes at all times just because she was so used to it. She's like, man, I got to get those back. Those shiz were awesome.
Fair enough. Anyways, so depending on what order you played the campaign, it could go wildly differently. As we discussed in a previous episode, the 3 of us played the game in 3 different orders completely, but we decided to do Xeris before Char. So if you played it in that order, we are now coming to Char. We are returning to the Zerg's kind of mecca as the Queen of Blades in her true form. And Kyle, I don't know about you, dude, but I was kind of kind of nerding out, like, oh man, I want to go back to Char. I want to go back to where we ended in Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, most certainly. And it's the place, you know. Before there was Xeris, there was Char, and that was what we assumed was the birthplace of the Zerg.
Yeah, that's a good. But as I was introing this, I almost said Char, the Zerg homeworld, but that's only the Zerg as we know it. We found out via this game that the Zerg originated from Xeris.
Yeah, it made sense though for them to be on Char because you had this sort of heat sink. That's not the right word, but you know, it makes sense. A lot of lava, fast evolution go hand in hand, but naturally, I mean, a big frickin' Earth or planet jungle makes even more sense.
Yeah, I guess that does. But I get it. I mean, especially for the Zerg that we know now, the Kerrigan swarm, the Overmind swarm, Char made perfect sense because it's this punishing environment where only the most just fiercest, horrifying creatures would survive. Yet we can flood in Wings of Liberty. We had the option to flood tunnels with lava, and apparently that did kill them. So.
Yeah, there was even a slight reference to that in the game that we were unable to tunnel under them to get to the fortress because those tunnels were destroyed in a previous
I'm glad you brought that up.
Did it do that? Because I destroyed the platform, and they said, they said that they were unable to use any air because the platform had been destroyed.
That's
so I guess
awesome.
They were just reading your previous save to see what you did.
Oh, that's really cool.
I
didn't know that they did that. Okay, that is wonderful, and I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about it. But now I remember when that happened. I was like, oh, sweet, a reference to Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, that's a total Psycho Mantis thing right there. I'm digging it.
Yeah.
No, well, and for the most part, I mean, while we're going through this, and you know, we might have some quotes coming up later from the game, but the only real difference seems to be her echo voice and a few extra insults thrown your way from Warfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about this off screen. It just seems like it was easy for them. They could use the same voiceover and just add that slight Queen of Blades modulation.
Yeah. Well, and she's pretty much going to do the same thing regardless, which is, you know, kill the crap out of everybody. So why change it hugely?
Yeah, that's good. So, Mike, last week you started on a topic that I think was really good, but I wanted to save it for this episode because I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. There's choice throughout this whole game of which avenues to take, which planets to play in what order. But I said last week that I think these first three options, you only get two from the onset, but there's basically three because once you play one of the first two, you can go to Xeris before completing a third. I think these first three really confuse me the most in terms of like Kerrigan's character progression, depending on how you play through.
Yeah. I don't think there's really any kind of mandatory. I mean, obviously, the developers made it so there isn't some kind of mandatory way to go through this. But really, it does kind of change up the pacing of how you see Kerrigan's progression. I'm forgetting exactly how we were talking about it last time. I think since we went with Kaldir first, which is just kind of like her doing stuff because she felt she had to make some momentum. At that point, she's just beating the heck out of the Protoss. Then she goes to Xeris, and you get the whole, I've turned into the Queen of Blades, and she's gathering. I don't know. That's kind of like the tipping point of her tossing her humanity out the window so she can go do what needs to be done. At which point, you would go to Char, which is her basically killing the first bits of Terran that she's going to in this game. But then, well, we haven't really talked about this mission again, so we're still getting a little ahead.
I guess it's a good point.
Every time I come up with Char, gotta back off. I'm gonna
It's too hot, man. It's too hot to trot. But yeah, no, it's a good point and I think it's a cool thing that Blizzard did because to me, you could justify it in different ways. For me, I went to Kaldir first. I'm not even sure. I think, Kyle, you and I, since we do StarCast, we spend so much time researching this game ahead of release. I think subconsciously I was like, Cold Ear. Oh, that's the snow level. Oh, that's the one that they demoed over and over and over again in every interview I ever read and was playable on the floor of BlizzCon. So maybe just subconsciously I was like, oh, that's probably where I should go first.
Well, and to bring it back onto Char here, the first mission of Char seems like it was made 5 months after release of Wings of Liberty, when they were watching the GSL and they said, you know what's the most exciting thing on Earth? Banelings, and thousands of them.
That's a really good point. To get into this first mission, which is called Domination, I don't. Do you think it was any more diminished not being hot on the heels of Wings of Liberty? Because I still think Banelings are fun as hell.
Yeah, they are, definitely. And, I'm fairly new to all this, and I still love Banelings. This was a great mission for me.
They're so satisfying. There's nothing more satisfying than a bulbous acid sack that just rolls into your enemy, explodes, and they just disintegrate before your very eyes, screaming while they do so.
And when you have your entire screen full of them, you just know you're going to mess up whatever they run over.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and if you chose Char first, you're at a bit of a disadvantage on this level because you're getting Banelings, and sadly, you haven't picked up the Splitterlings, the multiple lings that you can make into even more Banelings.
Yeah, it's absurd. But you can't have that upgrade in this mission, right? Because it's the first mission with Banelings, so you don't have access to any upgrade.
But you have upgrade to your Zergling tech that you already got previous, which allows 3 Zerglings to birth from a single
If you went with the Swarmling, I went with Raptorlings because the idea of leaping leaping Zerglings it horrifies me. So I was like, well, it scares me, so I want to play that.
Sure.
Yeah, I actually went with that too, just because I love the fact that my Banelings are immediately all around them and not having to run around each other to get to the butt of the guy. They're just immediately all around him.
Spoken like true non-Zerg players.
You. Well, I went for the Raptorling also for its flanking strategic possibilities. I can go up a cliff and come around behind my enemy. So I don't want to hear it. Don't you get all high and mighty on me. I will take that from Protoss because I never play Protoss. I'm garbage with them, and I don't enjoy playing them. But I know my way around a hatchery, sir.
I just didn't want any units until I needed them, and those things spawned almost immediately.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's funny. We've been very lore heavy the last few episodes, but only episodes. But I love news shows. But another upgrade that I think is interesting to talk about, both of you, but Kyle, I'm interested since you're the resident Zerg geek, is Kerrigan's ability to where every Zergling that dies just automatically repops. I mean, it takes some time and only up to a cap, I think, of 10 at a time. But if you're making Zerglings and not converting them to Banelings and they're dying in battle, they're just coming back.
I love that. I used that in the entire game.
Yeah, I never got rid of it. It was so wonderful. I won almost this entire game with nothing but Zerglings.
Oh, it was great. I mean, you never had to scout anything. And those Zerglings that you made 10 Zerglings, they died. Then they came back. Well, guess what? If those died while the other ones were making, now you've got 20. And it just spiraled out of control every time.
It just kept building and building and building. It was so wonderful.
See, I was just kind of like, I had Kerrigan. I would build maybe 4 ranged units and then 8 brood mothers, and then I'd have my complement of 10 Zerglings, and I'd run around and just murder everything. I'd have them all lumped up around Kerrigan, so as soon as they started taking any damage, boop, pop the heal. Everybody's at full health, and I was just murdering everything down. I was destroying all the bases on all the maps before they could, even mess with me. And anytime I lost the Zerglings, they pop right back at my base, and because I had the Raptor Zerglings, they rush right back up to where I am. It was no problem ever.
It's great. The campaigns are so much fun. That being said, if any of this was introduced in the multiplayer, it would be such a mess.
I would probably play a MOBA if it was this completely whack.
Well, MOBAs, you only control one character. So
exactly.
If the creeps were this insane?
Well, pretty much. I mean, if you got to play a Kerrigan and you were just spawning people out the butt and healing the crap out of them and just running through with an entire football team worth of characters behind you at all times, and Yeah, that would be nuts.
I'm happy to know that my Zerg vs. Protoss game doesn't have to involve me stopping him from contacting the Golden Armada while I have to argue with the other half of my swarm to get it back.
Oh, you, Kyle. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about this mission. So yeah, this is where we meet Broodmother Zagara. This is the first kind of self-aware. These were the Broodmothers that were created by Kerrigan to carry on the swarm in her absence. Now that she's back, Zagara doesn't really want to give up her control of her pack of brood. So, in true Kerrigan fashion, we're going to do a little negative reinforcement.
Yeah, she's going to beat on her.
Yeah, it's one of those, the evil genie, be careful what you wish for thing. And we saw this in the previous mission where we kind of just let the Broodmother go and we'll see what happens with her in Legacy of the Void. But in this one, she just said, be strong, everyone kick ass, and then disappears. And so when she comes back, either as the Queen of, or as just plain Kerrigan, if you did this early, or as the newfangled Queen of Blades, but still, missing one shoulder pad.
Whichever way you look at this is Kerrigan's homecoming.
Yes, but it's understandable why Zagara doesn't see her as the Queen of Blades anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially to me, since I did Char first. This was the first thing. I'm coming in here looking all human, and she's like, I don't like you, biatch. That's basically what it's coming down to.
That's my brood.
It's a dead-on Zagara impression.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, okay, man, this is what I got to do. So she's got to come in there and really start swinging, basically on her own troops to get them in line. It made a lot of sense to me. I guess it still makes sense no matter what thing, but it really hammered it home just for that particular thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. So this is the Baneling mission, as we were talking about. So you need to collect eggs. That's kind of the whole subject of the mission. But the fun part about this is that at the end of the level, they're just like, here, have a free swarm of Banelings. And I want to go around the table. We've all got pretty badass computers. Did anyone notice frame rate chug when this happened?
Mine went down to about 25, so I was still pretty well in control, but it pretty much just looked like she was surfing on just a street of tennis balls going down the map.
Yeah. Yeah, this was glorious. This is what going into Heart of the Swarm. I didn't know anything of, like, I don't know what to expect. But if there's one thing I need to have in this game, I want a 200 food cap army of Banelings, and they gave it to me. So thank you, Blizzard.
Exactly. I mean, swarm. You need a swarm, and they really give it to you like right out the gate here.
Yeah.
This one did not work. They gave me this huge horde, and it wasn't enough on brutal difficulty. All my Banelings died before I could complete the mission. I ran out, in fact, of Banelings.
Oh. That sounds pretty brutal.
Well, that's well. You played on brutal though, right, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So there is there is that. Anyways, Kyle, do you have anything before we move on?
Yeah, we got an interesting little subplot going on here as the reason why we returned to Char. First of all, it is Char. We need to take it back. But also we learned that Kerrigan was looking for some other things on this planet here. Oh.
But what of the broods that were
Are we having technical difficulties?
still out in deep space?
They went feral. They attacked each other. They died by the millions.
That will not happen again.
So we learned that Kerrigan came to this planet hoping to have the whole army sitting on top of her. But then she has to go, oh, crap. I guess my previous self freaked out looking for the Xel'Naga artifacts, sent the brood to all different corners of the universe, and now there's very little sitting on Char, in fact.
Yeah, left it pretty undefended. Not to mention, I mean, if you play Wings of Liberty, a lot of Zerg were killed.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, also, you're never given a super clear picture of what she was thinking when she was the Queen of Blades. like you get a little bit that she was, feeling a little nihilist about the whole Amon thing. She was just kind of like, I'm going to fight, but I'm not going to win. I'm just going to go out swinging.
Yeah.
But you still never get a feeling for exactly what she was ordering people to do or what her plans really were and all of it.
Oh, yeah, well, because for Wings of Liberty, we're playing the whole game. It's through the eyes of Jim Raynor and Tychus and all them. So a lot of Kerrigan's strategy is played off screen, and that's what we're kind of finding out here. But since it is set in the present, it's tell, don't show.
Well,
Right.
we had this
Even
situation
then.
where she was feeling these emotions at Abathur, and she didn't know why, and she had to actually look inside his mind to find out. I mean, she's got full-on amnesia from her experience as Queen of Blades, and it's real interesting that she ends this by saying, that won't happen again. So she's back, like 100%, this is her life now. She's committed to being the Queen of Blades.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in it for the benefits, I guess. But like I was saying, it just she never gets it fully explained, or at least we never see it fully explained as far as what she was really up to, like word for word. We get the basic ideas of what she's kind of figuring out herself. So we're kind of in the same position as she is, where she's figuring out what she was thinking in the same way that we're figuring out what she was thinking at the same time.
This was also the first instance of her making her psychic phone call to a broodmother and telling them to go destroy a frickin' planet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that happens a few times during the game.
It starts to accelerate as you reach the end, most certainly.
Yeah. It's kind of almost like an offhand thing where she's just like, yeah, destroy that world.
And then, but yeah, that's going to be the point I bring up. Nothing really came of that. Like, we don't get missions out of it. We don't get badass cutscenes out of it. It's just...
We don't even get a boost of like any stats or anything.
Yeah, it's just exposition. So I think that was the weirdest thing this entire campaign. It was a stellar campaign, but that particular portion of the game where she's just like, you go take out the blah 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 Terran on the sugar planet. It seemed tacked on.
But
Like
it is a
afterthought.
strategy game, after all. I mean, it makes sense that we would want to embellish her with these great abilities so that, go destroy the Dominion mining world so they can no longer finance their Thors or whatever's going on. But we also know that about a year and a half into the making of this campaign, Blizzard came out and said that only 50% of people finished Wings of Liberty, and in fact, many thought the campaign was too long. Maybe even every single one of these was a mission that they cut. But is important to the world building, the lore, when they went back and said, oh, well, we've just destroyed planet X, Y, and Z. We need to mention that.
Well, give me some kind of payoff, because there was literally no payoff at all. It was just, here's a picture of a planet and some VO from Kerrigan. That is it.
I mean, I guess in the end, it was really just look how BA she is. When she's just like, yeah, kill that planet. And it is done.
It was nice to see the world covered in creep, I must say. Not as cool as the evolution missions where you did the zoom onto the planet, though.
That was pretty cool.
Yep.
Although I did get a little bored with them at the end.
I was about to say, it was pretty cool for about the first two evolution missions, and I was like, you know what? I just want to check a box and move on. Thank you.
True enough.
Yeah, if you're wondering why we aren't talking about the evolution missions on the show, because there's really nothing to talk about.
No, I mean, it's a personal choice between green and purple.
Really is. I mean, I liked a little bit of the insights into how this swarm, works. Like sometimes they'll kill something to take its essence. Other times they were like forcing aggressive mutations to do something, but it all kind of came down to the same thing of just like, I've got 2 different types of stuff here. Which one would you like? Let's test them out first. It would have been nice if they gave me a box.
That is great.
Abathur.
Yeah, man.
That is really good.
I've been drinking iced coffee, so I probably got a little grumblies.
I think you should do the whole episode like that.
Yes.
Or at least read a
Spin
menu at a
strings.
restaurant.
God,
Pasta
wow.
mixed with marinara.
Tasty. Anyway, but like I would have been good if they kind of split it down the middle where like there was a box you could check at the very beginning, or if you felt like going through it, then you could play the mission to test the units out. Because towards the end, like I did like maybe the first 4 evolution missions, but at the end, I was just kind of like the worst part was that they showed you what the two different things were. To be like, you can have it do this, or you can have it do that. I want it to do that. Okay, well, let's do the mission. No. I just wanted to do that. Just let me do that. I don't want to do the mission.
Yep, like the Mutalisk is like, well, I know I want Broodlords. This is not a question. Thank you. Just give me the damn Broodlord.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's a bit of a pacing issue. This is also the first planet where we are killing humans.
In the past, did I ever give you humans to experiment on?
Yes, very bad. Primitive structures, minimal biological adaptability.
From now on, we won't be doing any more experiments on humans.
Am pleased to know it.
What a weighted way to say that, Abathur. It's like,
Am, please.
I am please? Okay, so we're crap. And I think I said this on a show recently.
You said it on Starcast. You were just like, why don't humans have claws for hands?
Spines, laser buttocks, like something. Yeah. Yeah, we got tools, so...
I actually, no, it was on This Week in Blizz because Ben got heady like he usually does. And was just like, you realize tool use and tool crafting is the ultimate defense mechanism, right?
You sort of, kind of. Unless you're watching a movie where there's only one alien, in which case all your tools are not good for anything. If it's versus 100 aliens, tools are great. But as we've seen, one alien is much more powerful than 100 aliens when it comes to that. Because they'll always find little chinks in the armor. But that's just movie making.
They're not going to have a culture and tools and video, yeah.
Are you talking about Alien versus Aliens, or are you just talking about Predator? Because then that's just a difference in the intelligence of the alien.
I think I was just talking about movie monsters in general.
Oh, okay. Because that argument actually...
I think there's actually an argument with that with Dahaka at some point in the game, where he's just like, I don't need tools. I will make claws, blah, 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 blah.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That is something he says, and it made me think of Kyle.
Well, this quote is also hot on the heels of the next mission. Or not, that's backwards. It's hot on the head, the hat? But we get aberrations in the next mission. So no more human experiments, but make me a hulking tank made of humans.
Well, he's probably got like a refrigerator somewhere in the back where he's got a bunch of humans stacked up still.
Well, and I don't know, I kind of had I just assumed it was from the Terrans they killed, or that weren't going to make it. I don't know. But that's also the first mission where you kill Terrans, so I don't know. Never mind. It's very funny. That's a good point, Kyle. That hadn't even crossed my mind. Yeah, aberrations are... they're weird. They fill a weird, odd role.
They're kind of like miniature Ultralisks in a way. Like that's basically the role they filled in any of my missions where I had them. Otherwise, I mean, like, if I started with a few, they were good to have, but I never actually made them during the course of the game.
Yeah, same here. I went through the whole rest of the game without even making a single one. But anyway, let's talk about that, because that is you're talking about Fire in the Sky, correct? Oh no, you're getting slightly ahead, Kyle. So 2 missions ahead is the aberrations. The next mission is...
Sorry, yes.
That's all right. It's totally cool.
We're kind of going all over the place as far as
we're talking everywhere, so it doesn't really matter. But next mission is Fire in the Sky. Not a whole lot in the way of lore. This is, I believe, in the lead up to this mission is where they bring up that the tunnels were flooded or the sky platforms were destroyed, because this is about basically opening up a lane to get to General Warfield's, encampment.
Yeah.
I say encampment. It's like they built a straight up Walmart in the middle of Char. But
this is a cool ass mission, though.
I loved this mission.
We have these giant ships called Medusas.
They're basically pimped out battle cruisers.
Gorgons, yes, Gorgons. And giant frickin' battle cruisers that just destroy everything in their way. And you need to spread the creep. Learn to creep right now.
Yep. And this is all about spreading the creep. Spreading the creep.
Which was a delight. I mean, for this mission, I did turn off my Zergling's instant to get the creep expanding buff.
What was that?
Oh, on Kerrigan, you mean?
Yeah, because you had the choices between, expanding the creep or having bonus gas or other.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that upgrade really does help on this mission.
Yeah.
See, that was just where I started pooping out all the brood mothers, and basically I'd tell them, like, you go poop over there, you go poop over there, and it's just like having a poop party, like, all the way across the map.
A poop party.
Poop party.
Okay. That would be the title of the show, but there's already a show with the title and with the word poop in the title this week. So, sorry, Mike, you don't get it this week.
Ah, man, I should have used like turd or something. Whatever.
You could say shit. It's a PG-13 show.
Really?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Anyways, Kyle, sorry, continue with your love story about your creep spreading.
Oh, and just getting to do the Scourge nests. I mean, even any sort of reference to them is great. And they obliterated those giant ships.
Yep. Yeah, that's the oh, sorry, what was the nest again? The locust? Is that what they're? No, not locust. Scourge.
The Scourge.
Scourge. Yeah,
Scourge.
yeah. The word literally just fell out of my head. I was so I'm like, Scourge is back. Yes. Were you disappointed that you didn't get to make Scourge?
A little bit, but that was all completely overrun by the fact that I was in the bone trenches, which were full of dead Ultralisks and all the bodies from the previous war.
Yeah. That's a very good point. That was from a lore aspect, that was awesome. I was just like, man, there just needs to be one lion and a couple hyenas in here, and I will be happy as a clam. But oh well, I guess you can't have everything.
Bone trench is so cool sounding anyway. Like, I just want a bone trench. Like, just in my house or somewhere. It just sounds so cool to say, like, bone trench. Like, bone saw is ready.
I'm about to say, it sounds like the title of
anything that's got one syllable sounds cool. Like the bone spoon.
It was the name of my band in high school, man. What are you talking about? Not Bone Spoon, Bone Trench, but okay. All right.
And Bonesaw's wife, Bone Wench.
Winch.
Okay. All right. Moving on. So, Kyle, would you like to talk about the Aberration mission now?
I would, yes. This next one is Old Soldiers. So, Warfield has fortified himself in a giant fortress with lots of walls, tons of nukes, and is striking poses on top of a giant gun.
Yes. He's just like, ooh, look at how badass I am.
I'd be doing the same thing.
I don't blame you at all. Yeah, this is another fun... just any of the missions where you just get to just amass an army and just do damage, man. I loved it, which luckily is a large portion of this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first half of this is you're given a small army, and the computer is going to build your base for you, so go do as much damn damage as you can muster.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is one where we get the aberrations. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but yeah, I have no use for aberrations. No use at all.
No.
My first few died off.
At this point, I was sitting on lurkers, too.
I don't think I really used lurkers that much. But, I mean, to me, it was just all about the range units sitting around with Kerrigan and just annihilating everything as they got close. Having a big, slow melee unit just didn't even do anything.
Yeah, I mean, and this is my personal playstyle. I was already talking about how I made far too many Zerglings. So I had my fast melee units just on free respawn and just going to town, man, going to task.
I do like that Abathur, he at least knows how to pay a compliment to other people for doing work. I don't think we have a quote of that, but, and he's just like, yeah, this work is sloppy, but effective. Like, he's going to pay like a little backhanded compliment to Zagara for doing something. When really, this is about all Zagara has to hang on to this entire mission, because she's just getting slapped around by Kerrigan. She comes up after joining the team, and she's just like, do you know why I beat you? And she's just like, well, you're stronger than me? No. You're faster than me? No. You're just really much better than me. And she's just like, no. It's just really just digging in on her and making her go to Abathur to get smarts like dug into her brain or something like that. And she just keeps on sending her back, like, nope, do more.
Does this remind you of your first critique in art college, Mike?
Yeah, a little bit.
She's like, do you know why this sucks? I'm not good. No, well, yes, but no.
Yeah, or like, any kind of old samurai movie where the master's like, do you know why you're fair? It's just like, I don't know. Like, that is the why I punch you in the face right now. But like, this is the only good thing that's happened to her the entire time. She got beat on, she gets experimented on, and here we finally see she's getting at least a little bit of a compliment from somebody.
Yep. Zagara, go kill some things. I'll do my best. Yeah, no. Zagara's an interesting character because she very upfront about the fact that, listen, I'm gonna hang around, but only until I have become strong enough to try and usurp you.
Yeah. But she has like no face, so there's no way that could ever happen. She's not main character material.
Sorry, Kyle, what were you saying?
Oh, it's a very cool. I said monarchy, but what is a female-run society? Either way, Kerrigan's setting it up. Yeah, matriarchy that she's setting up here.
Yeah.
And Abathur even tries to stop her. He keeps adding brain matter to this to Zagara, and he's like, "Look, they don't need this. We have you." And that's what's kind of interesting about it.
Yeah.
At one time, she's saying, "I'm never leaving again," but at the same time, she's kind of making the swarm self-sufficient.
Yeah. It's always good to have a retirement plan,
Yeah.
Well, we finished the mission, and after striking many a pose on top of his gun, which explodes, Warfield has the following to say.
Bring everything you have. Bring your whole swarm. I don't want to hunt down stragglers after we wipe you out.
You gotta love this man. I mean, calling her up the entire damn mission, going, Kerrigan, you're not even human. Hang on.
Yeah. He is like one of my favorite characters from Wings of Liberty, and I still really enjoy him now. He's like a really angry Danny Glover, just calling her up like, I'm too old for this shit.
It's a good point. I really dig him too. I gotta say, it's probably one of my biggest letdowns of this game is that I don't feel there's enough Warfield. But he's an interesting character because he's one of the few people in the Dominion, I think, that has any sense of honor.
Very true.
He is this and maybe I just watched Game of Thrones last night because it's back on TV, and I'm playing with these archetypes in my head a lot, but I find that I love that kind of stuff where you're in this world of just liars, just these terrible, evil, deceitful people, and those are the people who rule. But there's still these pockets of people who are just like, I'm not going to give up what I think is important. And Warfield's interesting because he allies himself with Manx, who, if anyone is on the inside of the Dominion and knows what the real Manx, I'm sure it's his top general. So I find that so damn interesting about him. He allies himself with someone he knows is evil when he is very obviously an honorable person.
Well, I think it's
Warfield
lawful
is
to go by
he's
D&D.
definitely. Yeah, good point. He's definitely lawful good. He's a soldier. He follows orders. He was with the prince, after all, when we first saw him in Wings of Liberty. So we know he's got like some good karma on his side. But when the time came, when the prince wanted to run off with Jim Raynor's group, he's the soldier. He has to follow orders. He's going to stay with the Dominion.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very, very true. So I'd be curious to get a little backstory on him and his role after the Char campaign. Like, did he have a lot of back and forth with Manx? Was he staying there because he was ordered to, or because obviously I like going into this, I was kind of thinking like, oh, he's still with the Dominion, because I figured Manx would have been super pissed at this point, knowing that Valerian had run off and Warfield had helped him, but.
Well, I think Manx almost kind of respected his son for being a backstabbing SOB, just like his old pop. But, like, if I was to guess at the motivations of Warfield, it would be he was in it for his men. Like, he was always about his men. His men came first. He was like the leader. And even if he was working for a maniacal dictatorship, he was in it to save the lives of his men that were under his command. Like, he was going to do what good he could with that.
Spoken like the only person here who has any military experience.
And when we first got to Char, Kerrigan makes a side point of saying, I can't sense the Xel'Naga artifact. It said in other places in the game that it simply disappeared after the battle. Being the good guy, I think I know who could have taken it. It was Jennifer Warfield here.
That's a good point. But obviously,
it's a weapon. He's nuking the planet. He's not hugging any trees here.
There's no trees on Char.
There's no trees to hug.
Like, if anything, you're avenging the trees on Char by nuking the planet.
I was about to say, Char is
I'm
the perfect.
so sick of those damn trees.
Well, then this is paradise for old General Warfield here. But anyway, let's get serious for a minute, because when you beat the mission, it doesn't turn out too well for Mr. Warfield.
General, we're surrounded. There's no way out.
You bitch. You're not even human anymore. You betrayed us all. For what? Petty revenge? How many innocents have you killed? How many more have to die? What if Raynor could see you right now?
Damn. What a brutal way to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ugh.
Metal beams, man.
Yeah. So Warfield's got
I hope they're broke on the other side.
What do you mean broke? Oh, like sharp?
Or like severed somehow. Because if he is actually taking full eye beams into the that's just awful.
Yeah.
I hope that's piercing him and not bludgeoning him to death.
But they were already there. It's not like she put him in there. She just put him back. Be like, no, you're not taking those out.
Yeah.
Well, she put him a lot deeper in.
But they were like already coming out of his back before. He was trying to pull him out, and she's just like, nope, going back in.
They weren't coming out of his back. They were just he wasn't completely impaled yet.
Okay. I always thought
they were
was,
deeply embedded.
Yeah, that's kind of the point of the suit, so you can take stuff like that. Let's put it this way: he would have been fine had Kerrigan not done that. Well, that's an interesting.
They gave him a good dance though, because in this scene he is raising his gun and he is firing it with, like, if that had a trigger, he would be pulling the trigger over and over again. It's sparking. It's trying to work, but it's broken. He's trying to kill, and he just keeps saying things. He's like, "Damn it, my gun's like, what else? If your cat that you left could also see you." And he would have kept going if Kerrigan didn't kill him.
Mr. Mostly Bittens would be so disappointed.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it's great, and the interesting part is he can hear his men on, which we didn't really capture in that video. He can hear his men dying to the Zerg on the intercom while they're trying to evacuate Char, and he kind of pleads with Kerrigan, like the closest thing he gets to pleading, like, listen, you can kill me 3 ways till Sunday. Let my men go. And then they have some more choice words. She gets super ticked and kills him. But at the end, she lets the men live. You hear over the intercom as Kerrigan walks away that the Zerg are pulling back.
Now, I'd also like to think
it's just such a great duality they worked into this character.
Yeah, like as she's walking away and you see him kind of lying there limp, and his suit seems to be kind of powering down, you can still hear over his radio that, yes, the Zerg are pulling away and they're getting away. And then the lights go out. So I just like to think that he's not quite dead yet. He's still slipping away. And so, like, the last thing he hears is that Kerrigan actually did do a nice for him and let his men go, so that he has, the peace of mind to know that he just totally called her some really not nice names, even though she's got a little bit of humanity left.
Yeah.
I think there's actually a choice there, though, because when you watch both versions of it with infested Kerrigan and non-infested Kerrigan, infested Kerrigan like breathes in deep and soaks in the death, and then a light kind of goes off in her head and it clicks, and she lets them live. Whereas the uninfested Kerrigan, she kind of makes a shaky-eyed choice right then and there. So I think when she killed him, she actually got his essence. And since, it wasn't like, bring, spinning essence, like, here, pick up the DNA to learn what Warfield knew. It wasn't in a mission. It was represented by this beam of light that kind of flew into her face.
That's an interesting point.
And so she actually saw that he was kind of a good guy. I mean, they made him have such a great character. I mean, the duality of him trying to be a soldier. He knows he's on the bad side, but he's not asking let everyone live. He's saying let the injured, the guys who fought their battles, get out. Everyone else, they're still soldiers. They can die.
I wonder if she would have still killed him if he had just been a little nicer. Just be like, Kerrigan, I'll give you this sandwich if you just let my men go. And might I add that your new carapace is purple and lovely.
Yeah, I don't know. I think bringing Jim up was kind of what spun her into rage.
Yeah,
because that's what sends her up, man. That's a catalyst for the story that we're on. Is Jim's death. So
yeah, it seems to be the really good way to push her button.
Yeah,
well, to mention anything about Jim.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Jim. You are yourself a Dominion soldier. She sees the Dominion as the reason why he's gone. And she's an all-powerful being. Not a good. That will not blend, sir. You should not hit the 9 setting on your blender there. Don't do that.
Also, don't drop the
That's why it's so important that his gun, and it is sparking there. I mean, clearly he wants to be killing her. He can't. He's just saying what he can. Yeah. Getting his words out.
Yeah.
Well, during this battle, and while Kerrigan is occupied inside killing Warfield, we've learned how the Dominion does some of their communications tech by not hacking any calls, because she is, in fact, communicating on a psychic level. There's no phones in the Leviathan. So they launch tons of communicators at her ship, hoping that one lands in the main room, and in fact it does. And Minx calls up and has some things to say. Oh no.
Yes, he's alive. So you'll keep your swarm away from Paul and away from me, or he dies. That man sacrificed everything to give you back your humanity, and you threw it away. How he must be disgusted by you. Why, he'd be first in line to kill you.
Now those are the words that sting, man.
Yeah, I find it interesting. Like, throwing those kind of barbs actually seems counterintuitive to telling her to play nice, or else he's going to die, by saying how much he just hates her anyway. But he just can't help but just sling venom at her every time he sees her. He hates her so much. Well,
she's his mistake.
Yeah.
It's entirely on him, everything that she is and has done.
Yeah. And I love the interplay between each other. They just hate each other more than like any characters I can really think of. They hate each other.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Emperor and Luke Skywalker would have a better chance of sitting down to a cup of tea than Manx and Kerrigan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true.
If for no other reason than I think Luke is capable of wanting to talk, whereas Kerrigan and Manx are both bloodthirsty sons of bitches. Or daughter in this case. Anyways, you get the point. But yeah, I'm really stoked to get into next week. We're gonna be doing Skygar next week with probably my favorite character of this entire expansion.
Yeah, Mr. Narrative Plot Bombs.
Yes, narrative plot bombs indeed. But before we end today's episode, we got our first email from listener Ravi, who wrote, "Hey guys, I just wanted to make a suggestion as to why Kerrigan was slaughtering the Protoss on the Kal'Dir mission. I believe she thinks the Protoss still pose a threat both to the Zerg and Terrans. He says, if memory serves me right, when she was captured by the Zerg, I think the Dominion was fighting the Protoss during that mission, so she never got to see Raynor working with Zeratul. As the Queen of Blades, the Protoss wanted to kill her. She battles with Zeratul both in Brood War, he says, or was it Tassadar, and in that cutscene in Wings of Liberty. Also, when she was converted back for the 3 weeks after that occurrence, I don't believe she ran into any friendly Protoss on Valerian Science Facility. Coupling these factors with the thought of Jim Raynor's death, why would she show any remorse or second thoughts to sparing the Protoss, when in her mind the Protoss annihilate whole planets without mercy themselves, whether they are Terran or Zerg? And about her letting the civilians go after the Char mission, I guess it shows now she has a human side to her also, instead of just the Zerg mentality. Plus, on top of that, she was born Terran. Anyways, really enjoying the podcast. Keep up the awesome work. Hopefully you guys will talk about the Mass Effect series, as I would love to hear your guys' interpretations or feelings on the ending of Mass Effect 3. Thanks, Ravi. I have a lot to say on that entire series, and we're going to try really hard to not talk about it now.
Yes, we could go on for a while. I think he makes some good points here, but really, I think Kerrigan sums it up in one of the little optional click on whatever the blue chick's name was. And talk with her, she just says, like, look, I've got blood on my hands, you've got blood on your hands, we're all killing each other here, so it's all fair. Like, because the blue chick basically makes the same point. It's like, why are you killing us? We're just scientists. We're just trying to actually help this planet, and you're going to come here and murder us. And she just says, look, we all kill the crap out of each other all the time, so what are you complaining about?
Yeah. I think you both have good points. And it looks as if Kyle was just glassed by a carrier. So, damn you, Protoss, and Kyle has left the call.
Oh, no.
Right when there was Mass Effect to talk about, too. That's like
that might have been why he bailed. He could help himself.
He's just like, I have to leave, or we're going to be here for 4 hours. But, Ravi, we'll definitely cover Mass Effect at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if we talked about it in our first upcoming season. We just have to convince Mike that it's worth putting time into.
I'd be okay with it.
All right.
I mean, I might be the snarky guy of the three.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty much that anyway.
I've got snark for Mass Effect as well. I mean, I really do enjoy the series, but there are some points where you just have to laugh and make fun of it.
Yeah.
But as with everything, I mean, there's stuff in StarCraft same way. But
yeah, I like Star Trek. You can throw a lot of cheese at me, and I'll still like stuff.
Yeah, indeed. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the show. Want to help us for free? You can. Just leave us a review in the iTunes store. If you're listening to the show, you're enjoying it, you're a podcast listener, leave a review in the iTunes store. We even like it better if you write one, then we'll read it on the show. Give you a little shout out and thank you personally. The Campaign Roundtable is a production of amove.tv. You can head on over there to see Kyle and I's other show, or I guess Kyle and my other shows. We got Starcast, we've got Biggest Fan, which I don't know what they're covering this week. I think it's yogurt. I'm pretty sure it's yogurt week. So check that out. amove.tv/Campaign Roundtable is our site. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and catch the VODs on youtube.com/amove network. Catch us live every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern on amove.tv/live. Email us, guys, just like Ravi just did, campaignroundtable@gmail.com. You can send any MP3s or video attachments that you want and join in on the conversation. So if you have something to say about the Char campaign today or Skyguard for next week, we'd love to hear you. So once again, that's campaignroundtable@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @CRT Show. You can follow me @GarrettArt, Kyle @KyleFerguson, and Mike @MSDArtist. And you can check out nomoonart.com for my design work. I do all the graphics for the shows, the websites, all kinds of stuff. You need some streaming graphics, go check it out. That's, once again, nomoonart.com. And big thanks to our sponsors, doghousesystems.com. Our code is CRT. And that gets you double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig. I just love mine to death. All you have to do is listen to any of the shows that they sponsor, and you listen to me loving. So,
I will actually go ahead and say a little extra on that. Like, you've got your Doghouse system, and you probably paid a good $1,000 less than I did for my system. And my system kicks butt, but yours keeps up with it. Like, on everything I've seen it run. And I'm going to throw that, exactly towards the Doghouse guys. Just know what they're doing when they put the system together. That's a little bit That's just my 2 cents on that.
And have you ever built a tower, dude? I don't understand how they do their wire management. Because it's beautiful when you open that thing up. I don't get it. They must have Time Lord technology because it just disappears. I don't know where the wires are hidden. But anyways, there is that. So have a good week, everyone, and we'll see you next week with Heart of the Swarm Part 4 as we inch very, very close to the end of Heart of the Swarm. See you then.